What's good? Now, I told you guys at the end of my Devin Haney versus Santiago post-fight review that I wasn't going to watch KSI versus Logan Paul. And don't worry, I'm a man of my word. I didn't watch that fight, nor do I have any plans of watching that fight. But I want to say that that fight wasn't bad for boxing. All our self-righteous fans that talk about the purity of the sport, how this is bad for the sport, this is a circus. Yes, it was a circus. So what? Boxing is a circus. Boxing doesn't have a governing body that controls who's gonna have a license or not. Yes, each state does. So these guys were licensed by the state of California. And these guys were in much better shape than if you switch the channel and watch Kubrat Pulev versus that guy Booker. Booker was nowhere near as good as shape as these two guys, as these two YouTubers were making their pro debut. And that was a title eliminator. Kubrat Pulev versus that Booker guy. I'm gonna research his name right now, so I at least have his name. Rydell Booker. Well, he was in terrible shape, guys. Typical American heavyweight, stereotypical American heavyweight of the last 15 years. That's worse for boxing because one of these guys was getting an opportunity to face Joshua versus Andy Reese. Now I want to talk about physiques, talking about Andy Reese. Yes, but Andy Reese is in great boxing shape. You could tell by his in-ring work. That fight was slow. It was boring. It was hard to watch. Now, I didn't watch Paul Logan versus KSI, but I've heard that it was a halfway decent fight. I know Hawker Mustang said it was terrible, but it's a pro debut. It's a guy making his pro debut versus a guy making their pro debut. They're gonna look terrible. They're gonna be sloppy. These guys had no amateur experience besides their first fight. That was a huge fight. Why not do it in a way that makes you a lot of money and in a way that it's easy? If they were to do MMA, they would have to do a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of jiu-jitsu, a little bit of boxing, a little bit of Muay Thai. They would have to learn all that. In boxing, they just throw hands. Would it be any better if they were doing a street fight? This was just the best platform for them, and DAZN helped them out because they thought it would bring in a lot of subscribers to them, and hopefully it did, man. Hopefully it did, and hopefully they don't cut their subscription right away so they could witness Andy Reese versus Anthony Joshua. We might make new boxing fans. Now, I didn't watch it to make a self-righteous stance against this fight, against these clowns. Boxing is a circus, guys. Boxing, like I said, it's not a sport governed by any organization or any structural body, national body, like my videos. Not organized at all. But boxing is a circus, man. It started as a circus, just like professional wrestling, and it will always be a circus, man. Just because you add a couple rules, just because these guys are making a lot of money, just because there's titles, just because there's promoters, just because, yes, there is a lot of respect and history behind the sport, and I'll be the first one to talk about its rich history and how much this sport means to me and to you guys as well to even be watching this video. It doesn't mean that fights like these are bad for the sport. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean, I'm not going to say that it's good for the sport. I'm not going to say that it brought a bunch of fans to the sport because I saw what was going on there. Ladies shaking their asses and all that. They're not going to become lifelong boxing fans, but I'm not going to complain about that. I'm not going to complain like if boxing doesn't fuck itself. Like if what's worse for the sport is a franchise champion. What's worse for the sport is Joshua versus Fury 2 not happening. What's worse for the sport is guys like Chavez Jr. getting popped and for drugs and being allowed to fight anyway. Boxing fucks itself. It doesn't need some YouTubers in great shape taking that fight seriously, promoting themselves, promoting the sport, and even putting some legit guys on the undercard who laid an egg in the ring that night. If that was the fight to make new fans for them, to expose new fans to Devin Haney and Billy Joe, those guys laid an egg that night. That was bad for the sport. KSI versus Paul Logan, I've heard it was an okay scrap for what you get. At least these guys, they came in shape. At least these guys came in shape, man. How many times could you say that for American heavyweights in the last 15 years fighting for a title? Chris Ariola, this guy Booker, Stavern, man. Stavern versus Wilder 2 was a way bigger disgrace than this, man. Way bigger. Let's move on. This was not bad for the sport. This does not hurt the sport. Nor did it bring a billion eyes to the sport either. Nor did it make a bunch of new fans. It's not going to make any lifelong fans. It is what it is. Yes, this was a rant. Thanks everybody for watching. Peace.